Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. This week we continue with the book of Rabbi Itzhak Ginsburg on the mystery of marriage, and we start chapter 6, which is called Words of Love and Kindness. And it's very interesting because really this is Hashgacha Pratis, it's divine intervention, because one of the faculties that have to be corrected in the month of Nisan is the faculty of speech. It's one of the things we have to work on ourselves. And beginning this week, which is, we begin with the month of Nisan, we are starting chapter 6, which talks about words of love and words of kindness. So it says that man is the speaker. The difference between us and any other creature under the sun is that the human beings have the ability to speak. And not only they have the ability to speak, but they have an intellect. Not like a parrot. A parrot can say a million things, but he's not saying them from an intelligent part. He's saying them because he was wired to repeat everything he hears from other people. But the human being has the capacity to speak. And the Torah describes the creation of man as follows. It says, "And God formed man from the dust of the earth, and he blew into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul." So here Rashi explains something very incredible, is that the seemingly redundant third phrase refers to the additional level of soul with which mankind has been endowed above the lower forms of life. So we see in this phrase, it says, "And God formed man from the dust of the earth." So man comes from dust, comes from, like, it's horrible to say, like we come from nothing, from the dust of the earth. And then he became something important because Hashem blew in him, into his nostrils, the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And what does it make him a living soul is exactly the power of speech. So here Rabbi Itzhak Ginsburg is telling us that surprisingly, however, he identifies this uniqueness not as man's pure intelligence, but as the knowledge and speech. People have the capacity to have knowledge, to read a book and learn from it, and have knowledge from that, something they learn, and they have the capacity to speak it. And the Targum also translates the term living soul in this verse as a speaking spirit. And the sages as well differentiate man from the lower forms of life by referring to him as the speaker rather than the thinker. So what defines the human being is that he has the capacity to speak. And he has the capacity to say what he thinks and what he feels. And the power of speech is thus seen as the hallmark of humanity. And it's the quality that sets man apart from the rest of creation. As important as intellect and the higher faculties are, man's singularity lies not in that he can think for himself, but in his ability to communicate his innermost thoughts and feelings to others. So this is what actually makes us different from every other creation in the world. And this is what connects us to Hashem, because Hashem created the world through speech. He said, "Let us make light," and he created light. So everything he does comes through speech. It's more, Hashem sustains the world. He continuously sustains the world through his speech. He's recreating the world through his speech. So here, speech, says Rabbi Itzhak Ginsburg, is the ability to convey a part of oneself to another. Is thus used by the sages as an euphemism for marital relations, since marital relations are, of course, the most intense and intimate form of communication. And likewise, knowledge in the Bible is often used to refer to marital relations. So knowledge and speech are so intrinsic in marital relations, because the marital relation is the most intimate relation you can have with another human being apart from the relationship you have from Hashem. Like it's a parallel between your feeling for your wife or your husband is a parallel to your relationship to God. And it says here that the beginning with those of Adam and Eve, and Adam knew his wife Eve. So in the Torah it says, and he knew her. How did he know her? He knew her through the relationship, through the intimate relationship. So we have thus gone full circle. Speech alludes to marital relations, and marital relations are equivalent to knowledge. And knowledge and speech are the unique endowments of mankind. So this is something that no other creature on earth possesses. It's something that is unique to humankind. And we have to learn to speak in a special way. Like people sometimes, they don't understand the power of speech. It's so powerful, it's so dangerous. Our words are like bullets, and we can destroy with them or we can build with them, especially in the home. When a husband and a wife are not speaking to each other in a nice way, they can really create a third world war. But if a couple learns to speak to each other in loving, kind way, then this can really change the whole relationship. Because when people are kind to each other and nice things come out of their mouth, then the relationship is a different relationship. Like you will absorb it in a completely different way. If your husband tells you, can you bring me a glass of water? It's very different than to say, honey, I'm so thirsty, could you please bring me a glass of water? So if he tells you, bring me a glass of water, it's like he's a sergeant in the army. Like there's no respect. But if the husband says it in a kind and a loving way, the wife would love to give him a glass of water, because when people talk to you in a nice way, you want to be nice to them. And so here it's telling us that misusing one faculty of speech is tantamount to a misuse of one's sexual energy, since both result in the dissipation of the ability to relate potently to one another. So this is a very strong statement. Like in the Torah, men cannot throw away their seed. It's a sin of the Torah. Men cannot throw away their seed. They have to, when they have a relationship with their wife, the seed has to go into the wife, because it's so precious. So when they throw away the seed, it's sinful. So the same way Hashem gives us the power of speech. It's such a precious tool that He's giving to us, because it's priceless. Really, no money can buy it. That when we misuse our words, it's like we're throwing away this special gift. So likewise, consciously working to rectify one's faculty of speech will directly and positively affect the marital relationships. So here the Torah attaches great importance to the proper use and rectification of speech, and discusses at length both its constructive and destructive powers. For it is speech that makes us human. It is how we speak that determines what kind of a human being we are. So speech puts us in a status of a human, but the way we speak can make us an elevated human being, or it can make us like the most degenerate person. When you see people that use foul language and they speak in a not nice way and they're screaming when they speak, and this really degrades the human person. Like a dog is nicer than that person. At least the dog sees you and he wages his tail and he's happy to see you and he says nothing. But when a person is screaming and they're talking not nicely, it really makes them lower than an animal. So rectified speech is the key to genuine communication. There's a very important book by the Hafetz Haim about the power of speech, the laws of Lashon Hara, on how we have to not talk about other people, how careful we have to be to not talk negatively or evil about other people. It's really, we have to really take care of that. And I think it's one of the hardest things to do, because sadly we're in a society where people are always talking. They talk and talk and talk, and they don't even think what they're talking about. I remember many years ago, there was a death in the family, and they brought a rabbi to speak at the shiva, and we were not religious in those days, and this rabbi, he came to speak about the Lashon Hara, that we should not speak Lashon Hara, and we had never in our lives heard that term, Lashon Hara. We didn't even know what he was talking about. And a lady asked him, what is Lashon Hara? And this was a Jewish community in Bogota, and he said, well, he explained to us that Lashon Hara is to talk about other people, that we should not talk about other people. And this lady says, so if we're not going to talk about other people, what are we going to talk about? This is how uneducated we were. And with time, learning more and more, you start learning about the power of speech, how important it is to use your words wisely and to use them measured and to always like educate ourselves, change that habit of always having to judge someone or always having to put our opinion on what someone does, and like to try to retrain our way of speaking to always try to say good things about other people, to try to talk positively in our lives. It's so important. Like we can say something to a kid, like he's going up the tree, and we can say, be careful, you might fall. That's a negative connotation, but you can tell the kid, you know, honey, you're so strong, it's incredible, you're going up that tree. Make sure that you step in the right place. And that is a positive connotation. So it's two different ways of talking to the child, and it's two different ways in which the child is gonna feel. So I'm gonna leave it now here. It's something to think about, the way we speak. If you don't know a lot about this, I encourage you to buy the book of the Hafetz Chaim. It's called One Lesson a Day, and it's a very powerful book. And let's try very hard now that Pesach is coming and we're in the month of Nisan, to really use our words wisely. They're precious, they're like diamonds, and not just throw them away like if they're rice. So I wish you a beautiful week and live a little higher. Thank you.